What do you want?
You got parts for a pod racer?
Why, you building one?
Lego and Star Wars join forces so you can build authentic Lego Episode 1 pod racers.
Featuring dioramas and recreations of new scenes from the then upcoming prequel films before they released, as well as classic scenes from the OT, LEGO Star Wars catapulted onto the scene and more or less catalyzed the explosion of cutesy pop culture toy fusion that more or less suffocates you in this day and age every time you skirt near the pop vinyl wall in GameStop.
It feels like a cross between a cheap dog toy and something you'd give a child to play with in the bath.
Proving to be a huge hit for the LEGO company, it started an obvious trend of acquiring dozens of major IP merchandising rights to further capitalize on this craze they set in motion. Notable examples include Batman and DC superheroes, SpongeBob, Minecraft. Yeah, they've kind of gone all out as time's pressed on. More interesting, however, was the decision to venture into video game territory with this fusion property, allowing the fondly remembered and widely adored LEGO Star Wars, the video game. Whilst LEGO was no stranger to video games at this point, famous examples include LEGO Island and LEGO Racers, this was what would be considered the first of what we see as modern LEGO games, presenting an unrivaled drop-in, drop-out co-op experience, simple beat-em-up gameplay, and hundreds of collectibles found through switching through a diverse cast of cutesy Star Wars LEGO minifigures to perform specific tasks. LEGO Star Wars sought to retell the hit science fiction series in a comedic way that often verged on parody, summarizing the then recent prequel films without dialogue, and emphasizing slapstick humor in both cutscenes and gameplay. The game proved to be a huge success for the LEGO company and developer Traveller's Tales, who have developed every major LEGO video game since, with the exception of a handful being developed by their sister company TT Fusion. The gameplay format, basic mechanics and progression system have remained largely untouched with even modern releases such as LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 or the LEGO Ninjago movie game. Traveller's Tales had struck gold and found a fantastic balance between loyal recreation and tongue-in-cheek parody. However, back when the first game was still just a recent release, it seemed like it was a lightning in the bottle situation, and it was unclear if we'd see more games like this. However, when LEGO Star Wars The Original Trilogy dropped, it was met with near unanimous praise. At the time of release, however, me and my family were in the process of moving to Canada. When I first saw the game hit store shelves, I was buzzing with excitement. The first game was one of my favorite games ever, and it was one of the first, if not the first game that I'd ever 100% completed, and I couldn't wait to get another taste of that Darth Vader action. However, we had just sold all of our consoles. For those of you who are unaware, North America and Europe use different visual signals, NTSC and PAL respectively, which means an English PS2 would be unusable on an American or Canadian television. I even managed to hold on to my GameCube through sheer reluctance, and sure enough, when we got it to Canada, it wouldn't work on anything. Thankfully, with the modern convention of HDMI and whatnot, this issue has become non-existent, but I can't say the same for back then. I still had my portable systems though, and being able to play the game in any capacity is great, so I decided to get myself the DS version of the game. Isn't any good? Well, I'm Dubious Dick, and we're about to find out with LEGO Star Wars 2 for the Nintendo DS. Hey, this is a pretty cute way to show your company logos at the start. And it even seems like this version was handled by an outsourced company, Amaze Entertainment. Well, off the bat, I was surprised to see scenes running at a buttery 60 FPS. However, jumping into just level 1 of A New Hope, we're starting to see some frame drops working down some relatively simpler corridors, but I'm surprised to see it hit 60 at any point for a 3D game on DS. But I'll spoil it right now and tell you that in my recollections and experience of the game, it doesn't stay this way for long. Overall though, the first level sets a pretty good impression, and whilst the level is drastically scaled back and much different to its console counterpart, we see some appealing graphics, nice reflection effects on the corridor floors, and even some simplistic but cute little cutscenes. Beating this level unlocks the other 2 episodes in the Cantina Hub level, so I think we're gonna go check on the Empire Strikes Back so we can see how they handle the Hoth battle. Oh dear. Right off the bat, things are feeling weird. Do you remember the part where the Rebel A-Wing scoured a tight cave network to shoot weird colored spinny things? Look at this crevice you just have to guess you can actually head into. With this camera setup, who would have thought this was playable area, let alone such a substantial playable area? Oh, look at that. Whenever I die and drop my collected studs, they appear just a few feet above me. Fantastic. One thing that I find absolutely hilarious, though, is being able to use the tether cable and pro droids and just kind of drag him around like an unwilling dog on a leash. I mean, now I feel like an asshole, but still. After dealing with AT-ATs by enabling their BDSM kink, we can now free play with vehicles. And this means we can access this game's most redeeming feature. A glitch I found as an actual child. We can enter free play, exit again, and boom. Spaceships in the cantina. And yes, in case you're wondering, this is doable with all the flying vehicles sections in the game, and it's as blissfully chaotic as it looks. After this, it's time we take a look at episode 6, and oh boy, we're one level in and it's a complete and utter mess. My favourite part of episode 6 is where Jabba's palace blips in and out and eventually starts disappearing from reality permanently, and everything crawls to a minuscule frame rate and Luke turns bald. The impact the performance has on the gameplay can be really felt here, as duking it out with these Gamorrean palace guards feels like escaping suction from a mud pool. Coupled with that funky hit detection, it's an absolute chore. Further onto the fray, it's our boy, Han, in Carbonite. Let's just head over past these, searchlights, I guess? I've made it to Han and now nothing's happening. Pretty empty hall here. Oh shit, it's Jabba the Hutt. Let's just kick his ass while he's exposed, or not. Fine, we'll do it your way, Cannon. Maybe if we just jump a few times. No? If I jump off this? Oh shit, okay, that worked, but what the shit? I had to use a destructible object? If I broke that for studs like typically I expected to, I would have thought the level was just unbeatable. Anyway, now we get to do the Rancor fight. I'm so excited. I'm sure there's no reason for me to want to temper my expectations. Oh, it's a claustrophobic mess. You have to kind of just force use this switch 4 times and hope the Rancor is standing under it, which you can only even see if you're standing in the front section of the room. If you're standing in the back with these unusable for some reason force objects, you can't see a damn thing, and it's easy to get stuck in a death loop trying to squeeze past the Rancor to a point you can force use the switch again. His death is hilarious though. Look at his limbs all just flop off. Well, that fight was awful. Hopefully the impending fight against Boba Fett will be worth it. Oh, you just shoot him, I guess. Okay. Well, so why is the Sarlacc pit the size of a fucking volcano? Hey, we beat him, and as he chugs along to his silent and undignified retreat, it's still more dignified than his movie death. What follows, however, is some of the most painful and lazy level design I've seen in any LEGO game. Between Luke, Han, and Lando's section of switch character, go forward, race platform, rinse and repeat section, and this accursed slog in which you have to time your way across asynchronous platforms you can't even see with slim margin for error, as the droids, this level, in its entirety, can fuck right off. Its very existence makes a compelling argument in detriment of the formula Traveler's Tales uses for its games, and I'm saying that as someone who really likes them. To make things even more of a slap in the face, the level wraps up with Princess Leia just popping out of Jabba's enslavement without anyone really noticing or caring, to you literally just walking up to Boba Fett and fucking killing him. And then he teleports to the edge of the sand barge and falls in the Sarlacc pit. Great. Thankfully, the next level starts with one of the funniest array of images I think I've ever witnessed. Holy shit, I love this level! I think the thing that makes this level enjoyable is how much it takes a step back in making you play the game. For one thing, it gives you the entire super kit's worth in blue studs before you even really have to start playing, so you don't have to worry about dying anywhere as you charge forward and shoot whatever's in front of you. There's very little required combat too, so you can really just press forward and Y. It's not a great or even good level, but it's satisfying and fun for the same reason everyone remembers the pod race from Phantom Menace so fondly.
Now this is pod racing.
It gives you a break from the actual product you're supposed to be experiencing. It gives you something palatable and simple. With that out of the way, I'm going to explore the multiplayer aspects. One impressive feature that I sadly can't test because it requires 2 cartridges of the actual game is the drop-in, drop-out wireless co-op. Now that's really impressive and an underutilized feature of handheld consoles if they actually got it working. What I can test, however, is download versus play. Weirdly enough, it's a third-person shooter, with the camera fixed to your character instead of the map, making the basic control a dramatic departure from the base game itself and the LEGO series as a whole. Additionally, it's controlled with tank controls, which are fine enough, but the ability to strafe is sorely missed here, especially seeing as the shoulder buttons just remain unmapped in this mode. Surprisingly though, whilst locked at 30 FPS, the frame rate is far more stable in this mode, and the level density and visual quality across the board is a lot better. There's full scene lighting, overarching pathways, and even a buildable, usable turret. Technically speaking, multiplayer is by far the most solid part of the game. That being said, I had a few disconnects mid-match, but that could be an incompatibility between the DS Lite and the new 3DS, so I can't attest that to the game's merit. Where I can see issues arising, however, is balance. The player who plays with a download cart is inevitably going to get shat upon because they can only play as Greedo, whereas the cart-owning player has the option of unlocking and playing bounty hunters they find in the collectible capsules in the main game. Examples include Palace Guard Lando and my boy Dengar. Both of them are objectively superior to Greedo, Lando being able to high jump, Dengar being able to combat roll, whilst Greedo's special jump just has him crashing onto his face. On top of this, Greedo's blaster only deals 1 heart of damage, whereas Lando's axe and Dengar's blaster deal 2 hearts of damage per hit. So, unless you have a blood oath with your cart-opening friends to only play as Green Boy, you're gonna get shredded. But then, if you're all playing as Greedo, it'll be a standoff as no one's gonna shoot first. Star Wars joke! So yeah, the DS version of the game's a piece of shit. But, if you're in the market for local wireless multiplayer shooters with tank controls, then you might find something of value here. I don't know. It's kind of a niche market. It's possible to attribute a lot of the roughness and incompleteness to hardware limitations, but when other platforms' version of LEGO Star Wars received a simple fusion into the complete saga, the new DS version of the game is a ground-up recreation, much closer in line with only minor gameplay corners cut from what you'd find in the presentation and content of the home console versions, running on the same base DS hardware. If you're gunning for a DS version of the original LEGO Star Wars games, for the love of God, pick the complete saga, even if it's more expensive. It's fun, responsive, even carries over the multiplayer benefits found in LEGO Star Wars 2 for DS. You can't go wrong for this version, and it filled the hole in my heart left by the release of LEGO Star Wars 2. So, is it one of the worst games for the DS? I'd say it's up there. While it's not as bad as some of the shovelware games you can get, and it's somewhat playable, the sheer momentum behind such a major IP fusion and the excitement I had for it just made it such a letdown by context, and for that reason, I think it's a pile of shit. Anyway, without ado, let's put it out the way of Boba Fett, and not with a bang, but with a whimper.
He must stand trial.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
I'm too weak. Oh, don't kill me. I can't hold on any longer.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You can't.